Hey YouTube, what's up? Definitely been a while since I've made a video. Just to sum it up, real quick for you guys. I've just been hit with a lot of things, good and bad, in my personal life, so I haven't had the time really to make a video. But I'm back, and I'm going to be making a whole bunch of new videos. But yeah, I'm not going to ramble on and on about that. Let's just get right into this. Now, for today's video, I want to talk about how to properly, in my opinion, properly set up a quarantine or hospital tank. I'm going to go into details as far as what I have for this tank, what I recommend, what I wish I had done, all that good stuff. And of course, like I said, this is all my opinion, my experience. There's some people that do it exactly the way I do it, some people that do it differently, some people that do it, completely opposite of the way I do it. But that's just always how it is with everything in life, I guess. But yeah, let's just get right into this. This is a 20-gallon. This is my quarantine tank right now. This is a 20-gallon tall with this stand and canopy. I actually got this all for free from where I work. I worked at a fish store, and I'll go into that in some later videos. But yeah, and it fits perfectly. The reason I went with 20-gallon tall was one of the reasons, besides the fact that I got it for free, was the fact that it fits perfectly on the stand here. My 24-gallon used to sit here, and it just looks nice. I think it looks nice in the room, and it's not. I feel like a lot of quarantine tanks can end up looking kind of tacky and barren. This, I kind of think it looks a little nicer. People come in, they say, oh, that looks pretty cool. But yeah, so that's, I like that a lot. The one thing I do hate is that I have to physically take the top off this canopy here every time I want to do a water change, sometimes even to feed my fish, to test the water, all that good stuff. So it can be a pain in the neck, especially when I got a million things sitting on top of it like that, the way I do now. Unfortunately, there's not a front to where I can open it up. Also, one thing I need to mention here is there's not currently a light in the tank. I do have a light. I just haven't installed it yet because I pretty much just haven't gotten around to it. So right now I'm just kind of opening. I use the light from the window with the screwed up blinds to shed some light in so you guys can see it. And sorry about that. It's kind of going in and out. But yeah, no light right now. I have the light sitting around, just haven't installed it yet. Now you guys will notice here there's a bunch of PVC pipes and fittings and things just kind of laying around. One thing a lot of people don't realize with quarantine tanks is you really can't have any live rock or really live sand either, because for one thing, most of the stuff on the live rock is going to get killed off, and that could cause a major ammonia spike in the system. But also it'll soak up the medication. That can screw up the as far as you medicate and then you want to medicate later. It just screws up the balance, and really you should just avoid live rock completely, and live sand as well. And you just want to have things like originally I had this cave here, and it just kind of collected too much detritus, so that's just sitting up there. But right now I'm just using the PVC, and that works fine. Right now I just have 2 residents in the tank. There's this little Nearite snail. He was acting weird in my tank, so I just threw him in here. Keep in mind you cannot have inverts in quarantine tanks either. Right now he's fine, because the snail's fine because there's no medication currently in here, and there never has been. However, as soon as I take him out and I medicate this tank, there's no way I can put any more inverts in, unless I completely redo this tank and wash it out with bleach and all that good stuff. So keep in mind, guys, even if a quarantine tank's been sitting in your garage for 6 months and you haven't gotten around to washing it out completely, I don't recommend turning it into anything that's going to house inverts unless you're positive that you've cleaned it up with bleach or vinegar or something, and you're not using stuff that might contain that copper or might have had. Sorry about that, the camera cut off. Also, the other resident in here right now is this little azure damsel. Now guys, keep in mind I really don't recommend damsels in most peaceful community reef tanks. However, azures, sapphires, starkies, canaries, they all tend to be pretty peaceful. And I have a 120, so I mean he's not going to cause any issues. I got him for free from work, and he's doing awesome. He's been in here for about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks now. And like I said, I haven't medicated this tank yet, and he's doing just fine. He's eating pellets and all that stuff. He's a damsel, so I didn't really worry too much about him. But I just wanted to make sure this tank was doing well before I, added any more expensive or less hardy fish. I actually had 4 blue-green chromis in here at one point. I had 2 and they died, and I replaced them with another 2. And unfortunately, all 4 of those chromis did not make it. I'm not really sure why exactly, but I did some big water changes afterwards to make sure that, you know, whatever they had or maybe whatever they succumbed to wasn't in the water any longer. But yeah, so he's been the only resident in here for a while, and pretty much the only successful fish I've actually had in here. Obviously, this 4-chromis, you know, just didn't make it. Anyways, enough about that. I will be adding more fish to this tank. I'm probably going to stick to maybe 3, possibly 4, depending on the... So yeah, 3 or 4 fish max, small fish. You really want to keep it at the bare minimum as far as livestock goes in a quarantine tank. It's just not nearly, there's not as much leeway in a quarantine tank. There's, you know, it's not as forgiving, I guess you could say, as a full-on display tank with a skimmer and live rock, live sand, cleanup crew, all that good stuff. That's just not available. You know, those kind of things are just not available in a quarantine setup. So you really want to keep it down to basically the basic, the fish that you really want. You really don't want to stock it up with a bunch of crap. You know, that's all I'm trying to say. Now, as far as equipment goes, you really should. You know, you can get away with pretty much the bare minimum as far as equipment, the equipment side of things. For me, I went a little bit overboard, but even then, it didn't cost too much at all. Very affordable in my case. Over here, you guys will see this thermometer. I think it cost me about $3 from Dr. Foster & Smith. I believe I ordered nearly all of this stuff from Dr. Foster & Smith. So yeah, this thermometer here. Some people like the mercury thermometers better, so I just tried that out for this quarantine, opposed to the digital ones. Over here, this ammonia alert from Seachem. Now, I'm not sure how accurate exactly it is, but it only costs like $2, so no big deal. Over here, this Section Cup algae clip for, you know, angels, tangs, rabbit fish, blennies, all that good stuff that I ever decide to house in this quarantine. Over here, I believe this is a Coralia Evolution 500, which some people would argue is a little bit too much flow, but I really didn't. It was on sale from Dr. Foster & Smith, so I didn't really mind too much. And I think it's important to keep stuff moving around in any tank, but also, especially in a quarantine tank where stuff just kind of... Sorry about that. You guys just keep in mind, bear with me here. I'm going to be getting a new camera soon, so I won't have to deal with the stupid iPhone cutting off every 10 seconds. Anyways, like I was saying, you really want to have the water movement be as great as possible without spending a whole bunch, just for the simple fact is, you know, you don't have the guys at the bottom to clean up all the stuff, the hermit crabs, the emerald crabs, the shrimp, the snails, all that good stuff. That's just not available. You can't really house those things when you're medicating a quarantine tank. So you just want to have a lot of water movement so stuff can get sucked up by the filter, and then you can take it out manually later on. As far as the filter is a Aqueon. I forget the size, but I think it's rated for like a 40-gallon tank. So yeah, you know, bigger is always better, and it didn't cost too much at all. Over here's my hydrometer by, I believe, Instant Ocean. The reason I keep the hydrometer in the tank at all times is it's just simpler that way. You know, I don't like having to rinse off hydrometers every time I need to use them, especially in a quarantine tank where maintenance is kind of, you know, there's a lot of maintenance that happens as far as, you know, water changes and topping off the tank and all that stuff because it's smaller. There's not as much filtration, so I need to use my hydrometer a lot. I didn't really have to feel like having to rinse it off all the time because there's salt buildup or anything like that. So I just keep it in here, and occasionally my fish hides under it anyway. So really, he doesn't mind too much, and it's kind of hidden. It doesn't look too bad. Up here is a whole bunch of stuff. A lot of food right now. I'm doing something with the main tank. The 120, so I'm keeping a lot of the food and stuff over here, and I'll go into that in another video, but yeah, just food, a little flashlight because I really don't have a light in this tank, so I kind of need to get look in there at night or anything like that. I have this flashlight. I use this test tube here specifically to test the water in the quarantine because you really shouldn't mix equipment. So this test tube is dedicated to the quarantine tank. I put a little dot there on with a Sharpie just to make sure that I know, you know, which is which. Also, here's the bulb for the light that I'll be installing in this tank, the cave that I stopped using a while ago. Test kit, more food. The medication here is Cupramine. Now, the reason I went for Cupramine, it's pretty much the best copper medication that you can buy according to the reviews and professionals and things like that. It's not as heavy. So things like angels and dragonettes that can't handle heavy amounts of copper very easily, it's better for them. It's easier on them, and I just prefer it. And it, like I said, it gets good reviews. I think it takes care of what I needed it to take care of. Also over here, actually I ordered one, but he gave me two for some reason. Dr. Foster Smith is a copper test kit from CCAM. You always need to have a copper test kit. Overdosing in copper can be sometimes fatal to fish, especially depending on the fish. Like I just said, angels and dragonets especially are very sensitive to that. So you want to make sure you always have a good idea of how much copper is actually in the tank, as to not stress out the fish or potentially kill the fish. Also, you guys saw up here I have a journal. It's always important to have a journal, just a composition book or something cheap to write in, kind of let you know what you've been doing with it, water changes, when you added a guy to the tank, a fish to the tank, you know, how long, because you really want to have a healthy, you should have a fish in a quarantine for at least 30 days, so you want to make sure you're doing that accurately and being precise about it. So you guys can see in here, just kind of wrote down it, you know, just simple stuff, dates, and right here I just kind of put the amount of fish that are in it, that were in it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty basic stuff. You know, when you think about setting up a quarantine tank or a hospital tank, it's often kind of an intimidating thought. You know, it's the same thing with setting up a frag tank. You sort of think, wait a second, I already have this big tank sitting in my living room. I don't really feel like having another system to have to take care of. But really, guys, once you set it up and you really, you know what you're doing and you get the hang of it, it's really a pretty simple thing, and it's definitely worth doing in my opinion and in my experience. Honestly, I've had way too many outbreaks in my tanks to argue with not quarantining, because honestly, it's just discouraging, honestly, to have to lose a whole bunch of fish. Not to mention the fish are losing their lives, and that's never good, obviously. But yeah, it's definitely worth doing. Definitely look into doing it. Also, last thing I want to mention here is quarantine tanks should preferably be 20 gallons and up. You can do 10 gallons, but honestly, 20 gallons isn't going to cost you much more, and it's worth doing that. Just it's a little bit bigger. You want to. Most medications also, they go by 20 gallons each, so you know, add this, you know, the dosing goes by 20 gallons, so maybe go by maybe a 20-gallon quarantine, a 40-gallon quarantine, a 60-gallon quarantine, things like that. Basically multiples of 20, and that'll be your safest, your best bet as far as, you know, size, you know, in gallons for your quarantine. But yeah, a lot of stuff going on, a whole bunch of more videos to go. A lot of changes happened in the 120. Some good and some not so good, and I'm definitely going to go into that in a video soon here, guys. Just be patient. I really appreciate those of you that waited and have been, you know, being patient with me, because it has been a while. But yeah, getting ready to add a few more fish here. Also, before I leave, please leave in the comments which of these fish do you believe I should get? A small purple tang or schooling bannerfish, a Heniochus diffraiatus. So it's a reef-safe butterfly. So yeah, those are the two options: purple tang or schooling bannerfish. Leave that down in the comment section below. Please let me know, because I'm having some trouble deciding. Both cost the same, and yeah, just wanted to just sum that up real quick. Yeah, subscribe if you haven't. If you have, I really do appreciate it. Like the video if you like it. Please leave a comment if you have any questions at all concerning quarantine tanks or anything saltwater, or really freshwater related too. Leave any comments at all, questions, comments, concerns. You hate my channel, you love my channel, whatever. But if you have a quarantine tank yourself, please let me know what you did differently with it, or what you liked about mine, or you know, things like that. Yeah, kind of rambling at this point, but yeah, I hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys are quarantining, and hope your tanks are looking good. Comment, rate, and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye.